Who's going to run that offense? Welcome into the Voice of College Football, talking Miami, talking Canes, number 308. The guy that shows up for most of them. Here we get the Wholesome One. Check it in, catch his channel, of course, Wholesome One Holloway right here on YouTube. And this is our spot every Thursday at 8 o'clock Eastern time. So please lock it in every Thursday. Wholesome One, how you doing?
I'm blessed. I'm blessed to see another day, blessed to have another opportunity to come before you every Thursday and talk about the Canes. Last week, we didn't have much to really talk about. And 2 or 3 months before that, when, Kamari McLean committed, we had all the stuff to talk about. Well, it's the offseason. And who is it the offseason champions except for Miami, where we finally figure out who's going to be our OC to get things rolling on the offensive side of the ball and score some points for the Miami Hurricanes.
I was asked that last night, Cam and I didn't necessarily come up with too many good options, but I threw a few names out there.
Really?
And we will take a few from the live chat.
Who were the ones that you thought of, Mark? Or that would, because the other thing you have to think about is this. Coaches do have trees because everyone thinks that we're going to hire the young Arroyo from that was the coach for him, offensive coach, and I like his scheme, and it worked well when they were at Oregon, and they were able to go ahead and win the Rose Bowl. He was the offensive coordinator there with Herbert and blah, blah, blah. But there also comes a point where you're like, I'm in a new place. Things are a little different. He has his connections on the West Coast. I might need somebody with more connections in the Southeastern area, or maybe even in the state or nationally. Who knows? But I would love to hear what a couple of the names you had in mind.
All right. I came up with 3 or 4 names, and the first one I'm going to throw out there will not mesh with Mario Cristobal, but it's a name that's an obvious offensive mind out there in Cliff Kingsbury. Okay, beyond him, because their concepts will just not jive, you're going to have to give me a minute, because I came up with somebody that I thought, you know what, in terms of at the very core, at the base, he should be able to get along with Mario Cristobal, but also maybe open things up a little bit and lean him that way. And I'm not going to be able to go back to the video and watch it, of course, but I'm going to have to rack my brain to figure out who I did throw out. I threw about 4 names out there. And that's the only one I can think of right this second, but we'll continue, and I will dig it out of my brain.
Yeah, and that's what we have the live chat for. For those of you all who support, if you all were here last night and you know which one that Mark dropped, let us know. Let us know. I would love to know. I mean, we already have some donos on the screen. I don't know if you saw that, Mark.
Falcon Rex. He pretty
Just
much
blessing
supports
us.
this show. He pretty much sponsors the show.
At this
Falcon
point,
Rex.
yeah.
We appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for that. He starts us out with the super sticker. Thank you for that, sir.
Uh-oh. Okay, so here's the big thing. Falcon RX says, love me some H1H. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Lamar Thomas for OC. It may be frosty in South Dakota or North Dakota, but not in Miami. I live in North Dakota.
Frost. Yeah.
I live in North Dakota. Fargo, North Dakota, to be specific. Maybe not maybe not for much longer. But for right now, I live in nice, frosty, -14 Fargo, North Dakota.
-14?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Y'all pray for me. A Miami boy all the way up in North Dakota. By the grace of God, waking up every day and doing the best thing I can. And that's helping others grow. Okay.
I do believe that Falcon Rex is also alluding to Scott Frost with his comment, because exactly. He made the same comment last night. He threw in a frosty comment.
Here's the thing. And I don't mean to quote Manny Diaz to spite him. I mean to quote him by, he was right in this viewpoint. It isn't about getting a name or just a scheme. It's about getting the right fit, making it right. Okay. Let's say we bring in who everybody wants. This LSU spread, air it out, put up 60 points and win, blow everybody out like 2019 LSU. Do you think that works with Coach Mario Cristobal and the way that he would want to play and the brand in which that he would want to play? Probably not. Okay. So how do we get to the point where, in my personal opinion, we could mix the power pistol that Coach Cristobal was successful with at Oregon with the modern offense that most people would like to see, more air raid spread view? And the perfect mixture is what's known as the power spread. There's a couple people that run this power spread, in my personal opinion, to a great degree. Dan Mullen, former head coach, Mississippi State, former head coach, University of Florida, former offensive coordinator in other stints. And I believe he was Urban Meyer's offensive coordinator too at one point.
Yes.
The other person I would say that runs the power spread, currently running things and kicking crap at Ohio State, just loses 1 or 2 games a year and people think it's a bad year. Ryan Day. Okay. Now, Ryan Day really leaned a little bit more 70 run, 30 pass this year to prove a point, not only to his team, but also to the opponents of the physicality. You're not going to get Ryan Day. I'm just putting names out there to give you all examples of what I think Coach Cristobal wants to see at Miami, and that is the proper power spread. These two run it well. Now, one that's a little too run heavy and a little too power would have been Urban Meyer's version of Ohio State when Ryan Day was just the OC, and Urban Meyer was very influential in the offensive game plan, which why you see Zeke Elliott. You see the last first-round offensive lineman came from that stint because they were very aggressive at the point of attack. Another version that people may go, because of what's happening with him as a head coach and them losing games on the defensive side of the ball. But Lincoln Riley's offense, a lot of you all may look and feel that it's super pass heavy. But when you look back at Oklahoma, he has half a dozen NFL guys on his offensive line, running backs that were running for 1,000 yards almost every year. RPO game, whether it was Jalen Hurts, whether it was Baker Mayfield, whether it was Kyler Murray, was very, very kind of balanced in the way that they attacked the run and were very physical. All right. These are examples of what we should see. Now, out of all the examples that I said, there's only one person that's open right now. Doesn't have a job. Quoted to have been in Miami recently. Don't know if it was for Coral Gables specifically. Could have been just on a vacation with his family, and that's Dan Mullen. He's an offensive. He's a guy I wanted as a head coach at one point because I think what he brings to the table is a little quirky, he's a little weird, but everybody has their thing. Dabo likes to dance with his players in the middle of the circle. Hey, if it's successful and the young people and their families respond to it, it's all that matters. Okay, I would love to see Dan Mullen. But another name has recently popped up, Mark. A very recent name. Thank you for putting it up there. Scott Frost. Now, I think about his UCF offenses. I like it. But then I think about his Nebraska offenses, and I'm like, But then you have to think. Talent level, conference, big difference. When he was in the Power 5, he was in the Group of 5 with the UCF offense, and it was explosive. They were doing pretty well. But who also was there with him building that offense? Do you remember, Mark?
Josh Heupel?
Yes. One of the best offensive minds in college football right now. Very successful. Little unorthodox with the alignment of their wide receivers and the way that they can just attack you based on that. Very, very wide, hugging the sidelines. So when they have these in-breaking routes, there's no help. And if the timing is there, it's boom. Ask Alabama. But I say these things because would hiring Scott Frost be just the name? Or is hiring Scott Frost going to be able to bring power spread to Miami the way that we think it should be played? Then there's another name, Mark. Doug Nussmeier. That's recently just kind of evolved. It's a little smoke around it. Again, I don't claim to have all these connections. I don't know. I'm giving you names. I'm giving you offensive schemes. Why? Because I want you all to just get in the thought process of not what you think would work, not what you would do if you had the control of a video game, not what you would do if you were the AD. You have to try to think about what would fit well, personality wise, philosophy wise, how to attack defense wise, how to recruit wise, connections in recruiting wise. These things, you have to think about that when it comes to what Coach Cristobal and his system does. Now, Coach Nussmeier is a quarterbacks guy, similar to some of the other people we brought up. And, he's been at Alabama, won a national championship in 2012 with Alabama. He's been at Florida. He was the offensive coordinator over the time that Central Michigan head coach, we used to make fun of him because he looked like a dude that was hugged up on a shark. Yellow teeth. What's his name? Mark, what's his name? Former Florida head coach, got fired from Florida, went to Central Michigan.
Jim McElwain.
Yes, former offensive coordinator at Alabama too. Coach McElwain. He was his offensive coordinator at Florida. Talk about Doug Musselmeyer. Now, again, at that time you had Treon Harris, Miami Booker T. Washington, quarterback, went up there and ran their spread RPO and did pretty successful there. So he's also been the quarterback's coach for the Cowgirls the last couple of years, worked tight ends a little bit too, has spent some time, played in the NFL, went to Idaho, things of this nature, okay? A name. These are things that you have to keep running through your head. Another person that I would say, Jason Candle. Now, Jason Candle, offensive coordinator of mine, head coach currently at Toledo, has done pretty well for himself as the head coach of Toledo. I think he's been averaging about 9 games a year in the win-loss record. I love his offense. Reason why it really stuck out to me is back in 2017, the great defense that everyone loves in 2017. Do you know who gave up the most yards? Who that team gave up the most yards to, Mark?
Isn't that the year Toledo and Miami played? Yeah.
Week 3.
42-13. That comes to mind. Maybe I'm wrong.
But it might be in there. I think it's a 42-13 game. 45-13, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
500 yards, Mark. The defense gave up. Explosive, underneath, up tempo, slowed it down, QB power, slot. I mean, it was an amazing offensive output against this very talented, NFL-rated, talented and aggressive defense. Okay. That's another name that I think would do very, very well with Coach Cristobal. So again, us media people, we can only just give you a list. None of us really know, unless you're best friends with Coach Cristobal. None of us really know. But we do know what we don't want. And what we don't want is to continue to go backwards. Rhett Lashley stepped in here and showed what this program can be capable of, leaning to the spread. In the spread thought processes, in the spread approach. All right. We will have better personnel next year due to the transfer portal and due to Coach Cristobal and his recruiting staff and University of Miami recruiting staff success. We will have better offensive line play. We will have more running backs and talented running backs, and the big one coming off injury in Citizen. The question mark is wide receiver. The question mark is, can the defense get that together? Other question marks too. So when it comes to this offense and what is going to be approached and how we attack, those of us who watched what happened, although, Mark, we were the same people complaining about Rhett Lashley, run, slam, dive on first down for nothing. We would give anything to get that to come back, because of what we had witnessed last year. And so when the fan-wise, Mark, us fans, there's a portion of a fan base that won't be happy unless it's a big splash hire. Give me Scott Frost. Give me Cliff Kingsbury. Go steal somebody's old. How did you let Clemson take TCU's OC? He was supposed to come here. My thing is, the names, to heck with it. Of course, I would like somebody with a resume. But we went through this last year with someone with a resume, someone with the title, someone with the. Give us somebody that's going to bring an offense that recruits. Mark, give me somebody that has an offense that recruits itself. An offense to where young men say, I want to be a part of that. You know, the reason why young men are going up there to play wide receivers is because what Coach Brian Hartline has been doing with wide receivers. He may not be the nicest person. He may not be building the great, but guess what? He teaches them how to get open. He teaches them how to beat certain schemes. Him and Ryan Day have a great passing as the passing game coordinator and now OC in name. They know how to attack. They know how to put stats. They know how to score touchdowns. They know how to push you in the first round. Of course, they got a bunch of five-star guys. But give me an offense that recruits itself to where South Florida young men and young men nationally want to come here and be a part of what we're doing offensively.
I've been listening to you for the last 3 or 4 minutes, and meanwhile, I have been racking my brain going through every program in the Power 5 trying to remember who I proposed. I proposed, again, about 4 guys.
I heard you. I heard it pop up a little bit, yeah.
And
Did you figure it out yet?
No. I popped up last week's show or last night's show just to see if I could randomly find it, but no. I don't know why I can't, because I thought I had a good Mario fit that would push it downfield a little bit more. I'll just have to find it on last night's show because I'm not coming up with it. I've gone through every team in the Power 5. Yeah.
I wonder where you would go with it. Because Mark, like I said, we had this conversation. I remember being here, and Rhett Lashley was on my short list from SMU. I really liked him. My biggest question is, with him getting his opportunity, was it more about who's now the TCU coach, who was the SMU coach at the time that Rhett was there?
Yeah.
Was it more about him or was it Rhett? You know, and then Rhett came and showed that his scheme, the scheme, Mark, especially when you're in the early phases of building something, the scheme can really help you through it. All right. If you're running a scheme that requires really good offensive line play, and you don't have a really good offensive line, you know, and of course injuries happened and a lot of stuff when it comes to Miami. There is context to why the product of which that you saw happen, because we watched the same team play Texas A&M and we go, okay, they got a little something. Figure it out on offense. You play pretty well defensively. Both teams are very talented. Let's see, let's get to next week. Next week you get blown out by Middle Tennessee State and you see what you really are. But man, Mark, Coach Cristobal has to get this one right, man.
These are not the guys that I'm thinking of that I proposed as my number one, just kind of off the wall, out of nowhere pick. But we've got Todd Monken at Georgia. I had to look up his name because I wasn't familiar with him, but I just figured, look at what we know that Mike Elko did a remarkable job at Duke, and he's a defensive-minded guy. So I thought, who did he have running the offense? So I looked up the Duke offensive coordinator from last year. I don't remember
What's his name.
I'd have to look him up again. I don't remember his name or his background.
Gotcha. And something else I want to touch on is everybody has these different philosophies. When you walk through the door, the young men that are there are now your young men and do everything you can to coach them up. Okay. Other people have a philosophy of get your guys in here who can run your scheme. And the thing about it is, not saying it's a lose-lose, but once you start winning, Mark, who cares? Some people want to call Dan Mullen a weirdo and a clown. He starts coming in here and averaging 35 points a game. We won't give a damn.
No.
Okay. We won't care. He could average 31 and you won't care. He could average 28 and you won't care. Why? Because of what we watched last year. So let's be honest with ourselves.
And the thing about hiring somebody like that you have some questions about in regards to whether it's character or just quirkiness, awkwardness, whatever you want to term it, some of those things are bad, character issues, they ran amok. Others are just personality things. It's not a right or wrong thing. It's just he didn't do anything wrong necessarily. But anyway, it's one of the reasons why Jeremy Pruitt, who made some bad decisions at Tennessee, is in play and wanted by most Alabama fans to be back at defensive coordinator. Because if you've got a strong head coach, then that coordinator, he's not going to have nearly the impact on the program. He's not making the high-level decisions. He's not a CEO. He's football, all football. And Dan Mullen was highly successful at Mississippi State. Before that, of course, coached 2 national championship teams as an offensive coordinator at Florida. Then he was, highly successful at Mississippi State, considering their expectations and their limitations. Did very well. Known for developing quarterbacks, scheming offense as well as anyone. And then, of course, even his tenure at Florida, I know it didn't end well. They won 4 games the year before he got there. And then they went New Year's Six Bowl, New Year's Six Bowl, 3 consecutive years.
Yep. And he went 2-1 in that stint, right?
Yep. Yeah. 1, 2 out of those 3 New Year's Six Bowls. And then he had 1 6-6 season. He gets fired. So he only had 1 down season. He gets fired because of it. There were some other things kind of off to the side that people didn't like, and the administration obviously didn't like, that again weren't things that were necessarily like wrong NCAA violations, just not a good look. Kind of gave up in the bowl game, kind of sold out his team in a sense, said, hey, this isn't my team, I don't have my players for this game. He somewhat, I watched this about 12 times, somewhat incited a bit of a disturbance, riot, whatever you want to call it, scuffle at midfield against Missouri, close to halftime. Didn't really do what a head coach should do. Wore a Darth Vader costume to a news conference, just did some things that didn't look great for the program. Didn't really take accountability for his defensive back, Marco Wilson throwing a shoe that cost them a win against LSU in the last game of the, those sorts of things that he could have done a better job as a head coach. However, he's not going to be placed in that position anymore. He's going to be scheming an offense and teaching players and instructing players.
Absolutely. And that's the other thing is, it's so weird where it's like, and I guess it's high and mighty for me to say this after, being so tough on Manny Diaz while he was the head coach. But, I've said things in the past, and I've said things in the past. That's all right. But my thing is, like, for somebody to have had the tenure where he was like 40-6 before he had that one bad 6-6 season. The other thing was that people felt like he did not dominate the state of Florida recruiting the way that he should have. Okay, he's winning on the football field. He's beating rivals. I think he was undefeated again. He beat us. Was he undefeated against Tallahassee in his tenure as the head coach at Florida also?
I believe so. Yes, he was.
He was undefeated against rivals in the state of Florida. He mainly got fired for all the quirky stuff. He couldn't beat Georgia. He made some SEC championship game appearances. And again, I'm not kissing his feet, but I'm just saying you have to look at things, to me, in a bigger context, especially when you're thinking about him getting a quote unquote demotion to come and be just our offensive coordinator, passing game coordinator, and quarterbacks coach. Is that a lot of those things, of course, would not be tolerated in a Coach Cristobal program, 1. But 2, he wouldn't even have the power to do most of that stuff anymore. It's cool. And he, again, was one of the higher choices for me that I really liked. I really liked Dan Mullen and his viewpoint, his offensive philosophy, and the fact that to me he would fit the way Coach Cristobal would want things to look. And I'm keeping in the back of my mind Tyler Van Dyke. We watched this young man go from having a really good season, great stretch of the games. You bring a guy like Dan Mullen, who's done it with people who are quote unquote less talented than Tyler, would do very, very well. You know, he would do very well in a Dan Mullen scheme. If Coach Cristobal, I will continue to say this because you know that's my guy. So I know him and I study him. If he allows whomever the offensive coordinator to just be the head chef in the kitchen. Yes, you're the owner of the restaurant. Hell, you might even be the owner and GM. But when you come to this kitchen, it's my kitchen. Stay out. If he were to brings in the right person as the offensive coordinator, it needs to be somebody that he could just trust to play and coach his ass off and trust, hey, I'll do that's the other thing. Mullen wasn't the biggest recruiter. Cool. Coach Cristobal does that for you. You score enough points, Mark, what did I ask for? Your offense will recruit itself. Okay, the wide receiver from Chaminade Madonna won't say, dang, man, you know, I want to go to Miami, but, you know, 3 targets a game and 20 points ain't going to get me to the league. But if he sees an offense where it's like they're spreading the ball out, they're airing it out, they're scoring touchdowns, they're getting first downs. Mark, we used to applaud for first downs. It was so damn bad last year.
Here's a couple more points. People get on Dan Mullen for recruiting. And I said this last night. I said, I don't know the ins and outs. I don't know. I'm not inside the building at Florida to understand exactly and be in on those conversations to know how much he's pushing recruiting or how much he's lax in recruiting. However, and I know that he had some tremendous recruiters on his staff. During his 3 full cycles of recruiting at Florida, they went number 9, 7, and 12 in the country in recruiting. So it wasn't horrible by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
So they weren't bad. And number 2, you know what just hit me when you mentioned Georgia. Did Georgia go undefeated this past regular season? Yes. Did they go undefeated the last regular season in 2021? Yes. Who was the last team to defeat Georgia in the regular season? 2020.
Florida.
Yep.
Well, Dan Mullen's Gators.
This Kevin Johns at Duke, that's his name, Kevin Johns.
Yeah. They had a good season, man. That's one thing, you know, as much as I talk my crap, I could tip a cap to Duke and Tallahassee, man. They had really good seasons this year. That's another person. I mean, I know he's the head coach there, so we won't have to worry about that. But
the offensive coordinator at Duke. That's the
offense coordinator. I was talking about the head coach of
Mike Elko.
No, in Tallahassee.
Norvell.
When he was at Memphis, and it looks a little different at Tallahassee because they got an H-back and a fullback and things at tight ends. But man, you know, he had some pretty potent offenses. And again, you have to also take into context, who did they play? Who were the certain level? And no offense to Group of 5 coaches, because I would love to be one day, okay? But Group of 5 coaches and the coaching level and amount of grad assistants and student assistants they can put to something and studying and scheming is different from what they could do even at the lower Power 5 level, okay? Which is why people were scratching their heads that Satterfield went from Louisville to Cincinnati, but whatever. Weird, but anyway. These things do happen as far as just understanding the difference of the coaching level and who you're going up against, who you're playing chess against. And it's just like, okay, we've seen a lot of Group of 5 coaches go to these Power 5 places and not do so well. All right, because the level of competition, not only as the players, the chess pieces themselves, but the person you're playing against gets better. The defensive coordinators, the offensive coordinators, the head coaches, they get better more often than not at the Power 5 level.
So ML 1219, just to clarify that, you're saying that Johns was not the coordinator at Duke last year. He just got hired. He was the coordinator at Duke last year. He was hired in January of 2022. I'm reading this straight from his bio page. He was the offensive coordinator at Duke last season. Patrick is throwing out Graham Harrell. Again, I don't see that, like Cliff Kingsbury, as a fit with Mario Cristobal. Graham Harrell is going to want to throw it all over the place.
Right. And again, this is stuff that I said we have to continue to be honest with ourselves. Some people may say, oh man, if Mario don't hire Coach Cristobal, but excuse me, Coach, I'm referring to how fans say, hey, if Mario don't hire this person, he don't want to win. If Mario don't hire this person, he's racist. If Mario don't want to win, if he don't hire this person, he ain't in a national championship. And none of that stuff really matters, dude. So let it go. Let it go. Let it go. You got to get somebody that's going to fit him. I think he learned this past year, hiring all these coaches and throwing them all in a bucket and expecting them all to work because they're under his leadership. He saw it didn't work out. You know, you're going to bring in a guy who's rarely been a quarterbacks coach to just coach quarterbacks, and he just came from being a play caller at App State. But you bring another guy who was a co-play caller and you name him the OC and he's basically run, but he's the receivers coach. I mean, it was just kind of all over the place. All right. And again, this is us observing from the outside. There's rumors that Joe Brady was interviewed last year, that Jason Candu was interviewed last year and turned it down to stay the head coach at Toledo. Okay. We don't know exactly what was happening. What we do know is it better look better in 2023 and beyond. Not saying that he's going to get fired, but as far as the name of the game is scoring points. Okay? It's that simple. Scoring points. You need to go get a guy that meshes well with Coach Cristobal that knows how to score points. And to me, there's a couple people that are on that list. Like I said, Mullen, Nussmeier, and Arroyo. Those are three people that I believe will really fit what Coach Cristobal wants done at Miami.
We slice and dice Miami football each and every Thursday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time with the Wholesome One. Head on over to the Wholesome One's channel. Check out the latest. Check out the old videos. It's film breakdown, and so it never goes away. So have yourself a good time over there. Join us here at the Voice of College Football on the Miami channel and all the channels. And, of course, the Wholesome One and I get together every Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time, so you can help us a few different ways. Hit the like button and tell some friends. Let some people know that we're here every Thursday. Man, it is killing me not figuring out who I threw out there last night. But
you know what's crazy? As soon as we hop off, you'll be like, oh, this was the guy.
Or I'm going to sit here skimming last night's live stream looking for it.
So Desmond Williams, you bring up something that's important. Okay. You bring up the fact that I haven't been on my own channel. You're right. Again, I've been taking care of some things for me personally, and I make sure that I have such an honor to be here on Thursdays that until it's to the point where I can't be here, I will be here. And on Thursdays. Unfortunately, as far as my Mario Mondays or the lives that I am doing on Mondays, I'm really hoping to get that started back up. But as far as what's required of me right now, I won't be doing live streams on Mondays for a little bit. So this will be the great opportunity to come in. And like I said, I try to work to get uploads or something, a couple in every couple of weeks or a month, just to stay relevant in the YouTube world. But I will, as always, be here to have this opportunity to be on Mark Rogers TV, even on the Miami channel, So that's a little bit of an insight of what's going on with Holloway and Hoseman. And again, not to get all preachy, but just be thankful, man. Be thankful for good health. Be thankful for life. Be thankful, when you see that sun come up every morning, because everybody doesn't get a chance to see that. So that's my soliloquy.
Absolutely. It is easy for all of us, and some of us are going through down times, up times, regardless of where you are in life. Find something to be thankful about, because we are all blessed, and it's easy to get down. It's easy to look at somebody else's life, or what you think their life is,
Mhm.
and look at yourself and what you don't think you have, or what you would like to have, or this or that, and keep your chin up and be grateful, be thankful, and keep moving. Desmond would like to steal Brian Hartline away from Ohio State. Now, Brian Hartline, of course, has done an amazing job as the receivers coach, both from a development standpoint and a recruiting standpoint, and he has recently been named the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. However, Ryan Day is on record, just had a news conference yesterday, to say, after a few weeks after naming Brian Hartline as the offensive coordinator, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be calling the plays. Ryan Day has said that he is still in the process of deciding that.
And that's what I tried to that, and I said that a little earlier when I said he's the offensive coordinator by name. Okay. And the other thing is, a lot of people look at it like this, Mark. Miami offensively right now is a crapshoot. It's a building program. And let's be honest, it used to be if you had success at Miami, you shoot through the stratosphere. Now, if you come and you touch Miami and you don't succeed, you may not get a job for a while. Okay. So you have to be very mindful about the jobs that you take. Okay. Brian Hartline staying in Ohio State and being a part of the offensive juggernaut and the elite program that they are fielding for the last 20, 30, 40 years. It's great for him. And it's what's going to continue to have him be a part of conversations like this, be a part of the coaching carousel every year for a head coaching job, just like his name was with Cincinnati, to the point where he had to put a announcement out there saying, no, I am going to wide receiver coach at The Ohio State University, not in line to be the head coach at Cincinnati. All right. So when you get into this thing, you really research it, you understand that you have to be careful about the jobs that you take and the trees that you want to join and the opportunities, because they're going to keep coming. Every offseason, they're going to show up. Oh, after spring, his name will pop up for new stuff. And of course, I would love to have him. One of the main things and the reason why I would love to have him is his elite recruiting and the lack of elite talent at the wide receiver position at the University of Miami right now. And if you were to connect those two things with Coach Cristobal, we might see some things change. But as far as being a true play caller, because the other side of this is what makes him so different from Josh Gaddis. Giving him a first opportunity as the full-time play caller. But we just talked about another opportunity with Rhett Lashley, where if you give him a chance and it fits and it clicks, and he goes on to be a head coach at a Group of 5 school, like Rhett did. Okay, so again, I would love to have Brian Hartline here, play for the Dolphins, has connections in South Florida, owns South Florida recruiting at the wide receiver position, excluding Hakeem Williams, who chose to go to Tallahassee. But besides that, he owns it down here. All right. So I would love to have the opportunity to have him come here. All right. But in my opinion, Coach Cristobal is looking for someone who's a little bit more proven, a little bit more battle tested, and a little bit more mature, while he is trying to build the foundation of a program that he wants. That's just my view. He went the young up-and-coming route, and it didn't work out. Maybe he takes another swing with the young up-and-coming route and a great developer and recruiter like Brian Hartline, but do we know if his great development and recruiting of wide receiver extends to his great development and recruiting of the offensive coordinator and how to actually scheme an offense up and down the field, what to do when you're down by 21, what play calls, how to put a play call sheet together, what are our play calls on 3rd and 8 and they're dominating the offensive line, what are our play calls on 2nd and 2 and our wide receivers, what are the little things, nuances that we can do and that we can put. And I think a couple more Mango seasons with someone like Ryan Day could really help Coach Brian Hartline in those things. As far as even taking this step, okay, some of them go from being receiver coach to passing game coordinator. That's another step because you're working in the offensive play game and offensive game planning. Next step would be maybe offensive coordinator by name while the head coach still calls plays. You're still learning. You're at his hip. You're listening to everything that he says and does. You get the same play sheet and you're okay, why did he go here, coach? Okay, coach, why? All right, well, coach, why did you do this? Why did you do? Still in the learning process. Then you see them either take a head coaching gig or they go and now be a full-time play caller somewhere. And then they learn from things that they did. And then they take off. So it's, again, would love to have them. I just don't know if that's the direction that our head coach would like to go in.
Do you have any thoughts about a couple coaches from the Mike Leach coaching tree, Sonny Cumbie and Seth Luttrell?
Again, I have thoughts as far as what they could do. I think we're in a position where we need people who have proven to be. That's what I'm saying. I like Coach Cumbie. I like Coach Luttrell as far as what they bring to the table and all of the air raidy stuff and scoring points and quarter. It all sounds good. What we have to understand is we are in win right damn now mode. In order to do that, okay, you need somebody that's been proven. Who knows why you don't? Who knows why even on 2nd and 6, you want to advise against your quarterback taking a deep shot? Okay, who knows the way that if based on even if they're aligned in this formation, hey, they're not really in this. Who knows how to mix up tempo and slowing it down? Who knows when to actually have a huddle and when to just go full guns blazing, get on the ball, score. Right? Who understands how to be able to do little nuances from having the RPO out of an offset, out of a quarterback being right in the pistol and having a running back get a little bit of a step off and reading as opposed to being in a full shotgun and doing an RPO, a read option. How that affects the defense, how that affects the way alignment is and the defensive end lines up and how they can attack. These things come from not just watching and not just reading the coaching books. These come from actually calling the plays in games. And even I remember when I coached against that defensive coordinator when we were both in the MAC. And now we're both in the Big 12, blah, blah, blah. So these are things that happen, man. And I like that. What about Greg Roman? Oh, man. No, God, no, please. Not after what he did to Lamar Jackson. Please, no. And then why would we want Greg Roman if we have more of like a pocket passer guy with Tyler Van Dyke? That really wouldn't make much sense.
I have no idea what Justin Fuente's up to since he got fired from Virginia Tech.
I think he retired, man. Another thing about it, Mark, and we want to talk about real coaches and whether they like it or not. A lot of them think state of college football is BS. What I mean by that is this NIL stuff, man. They do not want to be a part of it anymore. They don't want to do it. They don't want to be a part of having to discuss and negotiate and all that other. They don't want to do it. A lot of them have an old school mindset where what happened to just playing for the team? What happened to playing all games and not sitting out bowls? And What happened to, I don't want anything in the transfer portal. If I didn't recruit you, I don't want, people are people. Coaches are people. Okay. So when they may not want to be a part of certain things. I mean, you have Coach Prime and the way he's doing things. And at the rival school in Nebraska, Coach Rule is throwing shots at him and saying that, oh, well, that's not how you talk to a team. That's not how you build a program. I would never do that. The minute I walk there, now you are my young man, and I hope I can coach you well. Who's to say one is right and one is wrong? They're both coaches doing it their way, and hopefully both of them have successful seasons. But some coaches, you have all these, you have T. Martin. And Miami fans tried to say T. Martin was going to be the OC because he just so happened to be in Miami at a baseball scrimmage because his son plays baseball at Miami. It's weird. It's weird.
Hey, Tim. Good to see you.
Tim, what's up, man? Y'all gonna get some defensive recruits to help y'all stop somebody? Tim? I mean, you could definitely you could come back at me and say, can we score more? Can we score points? Can we not get blown out by Middle Tennessee State? So, but either way, I'm gonna talk my trash, man. I'm a Dade County guy. I'm gonna talk trash whether we up by 20 or down by 20.
Maybe Tim remembers the offensive coordinator I served up last night as a. All right.
Mark Helfrich would be cool. And Mark, here's the other thing. Do you go to the point where you want to, because you lose your play caller and you lost your quarterback's coach, right? Who was also the wide receivers coach. I mean, the play caller was a wide receiver coach and you lose your quarterback's coach. So now, do you want to go in the same direction where your offensive coordinator is the wide receivers coach and then you go get somebody to just be quarterbacks? Or do you go out and get somebody who speaks quarterback, who I think that's the best way to go? I want the offensive coordinator to also be the quarterback's coach so that we don't have two people trying to teach somebody the language. I mean, me habla español, but there's like Dominicano español and then there's Cubano español. So yeah, I might be teaching you Spanish, but if my base is out of Dominicana, and then the other assistant teacher is based out of Cubana, but then the book that we're reading is based out of Spaniard Spanish, okay, this could be tough because little nuances might be different. One term in Dominican Spanish means something completely different in Cuban Spanish, means something completely different in Spaniard Spanish, and we all speaking Spanish. Illustrate that to offense, okay? The wide receiver / OC may want the quarterback to do something this way, but then the quarterback's coach thinks that that's stupid. So then they want it done this way. They're both offense, and they're both trying to teach this offense, but from different angles and different nuances that eventually confuses players and makes them pick a side. Not a good formula.
Hurricanes Live every Thursday night, 8 o'clock Eastern with a Wholesome One. Appreciate you being here. And again, when you come on back next week, grab a friend or two for 50. You each grab 50. We got about 6,000 on here. Why don't we do that? Also, keep in mind that when you jump on here a little bit late, all you have to do is wait for the video to post and you can watch what you missed because we always have the most people on here near the end of the show.
Yeah, it's all good, man. Again, thank you so much, Mark, for the opportunity weekly for the slot because there's now almost 100 Miami YouTubers, plenty of people, plenty of great men and women.
Did you just come up with that number?
No, seriously, it's a lot. Mark, we used to try to all get together and try not to be on live at the same time so that people could have it's too much now at this point. I mean, you got at least, Mark, minimum 35 to 40 different Miami Hurricanes YouTubers.
I'm not really aware of what's out there. I could name about 4.
Yeah, and most of us have been doing it for 5 years.
I
so
can
that you would know.
3, 4.
And then you have. Do you really consider Cam a YouTuber? Right, because he has
No,
this
he's
one
on
show.
here.
Right.
Like I'm thinking of
Right.
4 other ones, you included, and I can think of 3 other ones
I'm
that
trying to
I
think of some of the OGs. The other thing is I don't know who is and who isn't anymore. Because some of the people I remember and used to collab with don't even do it anymore. So
yeah.
it happens. It's a dedicated thing, and although we do get paid for our time, it's really big time consuming with editing and audio correcting and investing in all these fancy cameras and mics and all that kind of stuff. And I got at least 50 of these since 2018 of notes and ideas and roster breakdowns and it's all up here now, but. Yeah.
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah.
People keep asking me to start new channels. I got to make the current ones good. We're still trying to make those stable.
Yeah, Mark. I mean, y'all know the one thing I've always asked Mark, but you know what I would love to, Mark? If you were able to get into the historic Black college and university market and also able to get into FCS ball as a whole. You know that FCS ball is very close to my heart, but if we could get somebody, as long as they're not a rival, if you could get somebody that could come on with you or get connected with you that covers FCS and HBCU ball, I know you wouldn't turn them away um, because you are the voice of college football. So as a whole, um, you would love the opportunity to have somebody on there, man. But it would be real cool.
Specifically, the historically Black colleges, I would find that very intriguing, interesting, because that would be a learning experience for me. Because I've read quite a bit, watched quite a bit, but I am in no way at the level that I would like to be in regards to understanding that challenge, that struggle, and all the way through, and the history across the board.
Yeah, it's a great thing. My dad was and grandfather are participants of HBCU. Went to Bethune Cookman, where the whole Ed Reed fiasco went down, and they have their opinions, and I have mine, but I'll keep that to myself. But yeah, that would be really good to be able to look and see that you're able to not only grab into that market, but oh, Jason M. It's all about the U of M. Okay, cool.
I wasn't following
I have no
along with
beef.
that. I just popped it on the screen.
I have no beef with Michigan. That don't bother me not one bit, buddy. I know you probably just poking fun at us, and that's cool. I mean, you guys have done very well the last couple of seasons, and you know your head coach flirts with leaving you every year, but it's cool. It's cool. I mean, good for you. Um, hopefully we can get to a consistent 9, 10, 11 win program like you all have over the years of John Harbaugh or Jim Harbaugh. Or, is it Jim or John? Jim.
Jim,
Jim Harbaugh is there. So, I mean, why you would come here and start beef with Miami? All of them. Hey, we appreciate the view. Make fun of us all you want, as long as you hit that share button. Let all your Michigander fans know. Come on and talk all the trash you want in the comment section, because you might learn a thing or two listening to the H1H.
we just did a live show with Steve Dace from Michigan Podcast, and our topic for the night was because we go toe to toe on one topic every week, and our topic this week was better all-time program, Ohio State or Michigan. So, folks, check that one out. All right. Anything else from you fine folks out there?
Well, Terrence has a nice comment. Oh, Coach Hayes is the new OC. Hayes played defense. Hayes played defensive line at my alma mater, but hey, I appreciate you. Even if it's not a show that happens weekly, it would be nice to have a season preview overall of the FCS and HBCUs. Remember to hit that like button for all the knowledge and information. Thank you, Terrence, for the great comment. That is amazing. And what we have to do is help Mark on that. If we know somebody that covers FCS, covers HBCU, shoot Mark a DM or shoot that person a DM and let them know Mark Rogers TV is looking for an opportunity. to connect into that market. Because Mark has a billion things going on. He's worked so hard to get all us connected and scheduled and all that kind of stuff. Trust me, I've seen it. We're in a pick'em league, and it's like crazy to see how he keeps all of us on our toes. And hey, your picks haven't come in, and it's Thursday, and there was a game yesterday, and you missed it. So he does a great job. But it's thousands of us, and it's one of him. By the end of this, 1,000 people will have seen it, if not for the segments and the full show. If you have an opportunity, it's be a brother, cousin, whatever, that covers HBCU, FCS, that covers a team in the FBS that you want to see more coverage on, get them in contact with Mark Rogers TV, and let's get this thing rolling.
On that same note, we have a Discord where you can talk college football and Canes all the time. Go to Mark Rogers TV on patreon.com. Sign up right there. You can join the Discord, and there's a lot of other benefits as well, especially during the season, but all year long. And also keep in mind, and I'm looking for it's actually down on the ticker down below. If you have a connection to a business or have a idea that we could get in contact with someone, and I just don't mean, Mark, call Nike and get a sponsorship. No, I'm talking about a real idea or connection to somebody that could sponsor us. I am prepared to obviously roll out all the benefits and every way that we could help a business that sponsors us here at the Voice of College Football, and specifically this channel and this show. So let us know. Wholesome One, it's always a pleasure. It's always an honor.
I feel the same way about you, man. It's always a pleasure and an honor to speak about this program and to have such a great platform. And again, I'm overly humbled and thankful for the people who have subscribed, who donate your hard money to this show and to Mark Rogers TV, who are giving us great opportunities, and also over on my channel. One thing I would like to do, Mark, next week, I would love to be able to do a little film for you. I think bringing the little film breakdown to your show would be great, and I would love to do it.
Awesome. Okay.
All right.
Terrence, super sticker. Thank you so much for that, Terrence. We appreciate your thoughts tonight and your suggestion, and also appreciate your contribution. That's very nice of you. All right, folks, we'll be back here for our next edition, Wednesday and Thursday. Thursday with the Wholesome One at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Bring a friend or two, and we will see you next Thursday.
Yes, sir.